live.
Always good to be live as opposed to dead. Well, hello, everyone. How to create an agent in 5 easy steps sounds like some internet huckster scam, get your money. But it can actually be done. And Steve, a software guru, AI expert, is going to show you here today. So, Stephen Bowman, let's just crank right into here. 5 easy steps. What does that look like?
Okay, so this was part of the reason why this come up. I was just talking to Mike about it. I'm sorry, I'm going to start a timer here to make sure that we don't overrun because there are great details here. But this is also something that I strongly, strongly encourage everybody to try to do yourself. So yes, let's create an AI agent and let's do it in 5 steps. And let's take the next, I don't know, 10 to 12 minutes. And at the end of it, we're done with it. And you've got a working model on how to do this for yourself. So in talking to a lot of people about AI, some people who use it on a regular basis and some who don't, it became clear to me that with all of the news in the market about AI agents, sometimes that can be confusing, even to those of us who have been around it a lot. And I thought, okay, if it's confusing to people that I know that I've been speaking to AI about for a year, and they've used AI agents that I've built, and they've used software that's got AI agents embedded in it that I've built, but they still don't know how to connect the dots to do it themselves, that's going to be worthwhile for you. And it's going to be worthwhile for me. So let's do this. First things first, I want to talk to you about the 5 steps that we'll take, and then I'll share my screen. We'll go through an example and we'll build one right here on the fly. Now, the other thing that I want to say right here before we start is, in order to do this, I'm going to create an AI agent and I'm going to create a custom GPT that is available on ChatGPT. If you prefer Claude, if you prefer Gemini, if you prefer Minstrel or Anthropic, whatever, feel free. Everybody's got their own way of doing these things. And in the past, when I haven't gotten the results that I want, I actually use the big LLMs against each other, meaning I will actually ask Claude to generate user instructions or AI agent instructions for a ChatGPT custom GPT, and it does a great job. You'll see. So first things first, step number 1 is go ahead and write your prompt exactly how you want your prompt to look. I personally have found that one of the best things that I can do is, instead of taking the time and typing out all of the words and going back and, kind of qualifying the words that I use or my speech, instead, I find common language works best. So if you're a Google Chrome user, go to the Chrome store and, oh, I just turned it on. It's going to be mad at me. Go to the Chrome store. I'm going to get the name of it here. It's called Voice AI. It is a tiny little Chrome plugin for your browser. You press the magic button up in your browser just as you would any other plugin, and it uses your microphone. It records your voice and transcribes it in real time. So I'll even be able to show you that when we do our demo here. And the reason why that's important is because, again, it's using the words, your common language, in real time to get your ideas out. And sometimes those get snipped, sometimes you use different words, but remember, large language model, conversational AI. This is why you really want to be using conversational language instead of typing and thinking and erasing and backtracking. And so number 1,
Specification language, right? Yeah.
exactly. The vernacular, use vernacular. So number 1, write your prompt. Again, I go speech to text, but write your prompt. Number 2, whatever chatbot you're interacting with, ChatGPT, whomever, tell it who you want it to be. It's an actor. It can be any expert on the planet. And in this case, I want the chatbot to be an expert world-class prompt engineer.
Right.
Because the next thing I'm going to ask the agent to do is I'm going to ask the chatbot to review my prompt, paying special attention and detail to the words that I used. Next, step 4, I'm going to ask it to optimize it. Optimize my prompt to give me the ideal output. I'll even throw in words like mo better, make it better, please. And then number 5, you guys have heard me say this before, it's a mainstay in my interactions with AI. Please ask me any questions you need to before proceeding. So
Right.
let me share my screen here. We're going to go here. Okay, so as you can see, no big deal. I'm in ChatGPT and we're ready to go. So in this case, here's my little plugin. It is called Voice. I'm sorry, it's not Voice AI, it's Voice In. And as you can see, as I'm speaking right now, it's transcribing. The interesting part is that as of right this very second, that isn't going anywhere. And this is how the software works. You have to click in the text box that you want filled in. So in this case, I just told it where I wanted that text to go, and it will continue to transcribe the sound of my voice and drop it in this text box, as you can see here. So nifty little tool.
Nice.
So we're going to stop that for now. So I cheated. I don't know if cheat's the right word, but I have my prompt already pre-written. And here's what I said. And you'll, no kidding,
Prepared. No, you prepared to save people time.
be prepared. I was a Boy Scout. So you'll see here that I'll read it real fast, but you'll see I'm using common language. I literally open it by saying, hi there, I hope you're doing well today. It's a piece of software. I still want it to interact with me in a favorable way. I would like your help in creating the world's best prompt for a custom GPT where it has an appropriate list of rules to determine if an email address looks like it's suspect. The problem that I'm facing right now is that I have an AI agent that performs operations that do pre-qualified appointment setting. And one of the last pieces of information that we gather are email addresses. And after reviewing the email addresses, I found that I get about 50-50 that just by eyeballing them, they look like they're invalid. So because they look like they're invalid, I want you to help me build rules for an AI agent where I can give it an email address and you can give me a confidence score back. So in my case, it's actually a specific use case in my business. It's something that we are currently doing manually, and it's resulting in negative consequences for my business and for my clients. I mean, when somebody comes into the funnel, in this case, it's an AI agent that's asking questions. When somebody gives us an address like bill@bill.com or steve@steve.com or a@b.com or anything that actually looks bad, I want to be able to use this tool and have the agent turn around and say to the reporter, or I'm sorry, say to the prospect, hey, I'm sorry, but that email address doesn't look quite right. Would you please either enter the 6-digit code that we just sent that email address for a one-time password, or can you enter another valid email address and we'll use that instead, which is a very polite way of saying, I think you're full of beans, please try again. Because I'm not kidding, just eyeballing it, it's 50-50 at best. So the very next thing that I'm going to ask my chatbot here is I'm going to ask it to please act as a world-class prompt engineer. The next thing I'm going to ask it to do is I'm going to say, please review every detail of my request. Don't skip any details. That's not okay. Next, I'm going to ask it, just as I said, I'm not kidding, guys. It's literally word for word here, right? Please optimize this for the best results. And finally, no kidding, please ask me any additional questions needed before proceeding. It's going to run off and do its magic. This is nothing new to you guys. I actually put a line in here and I said, cue the Beatles all together now, right? We'll paste all of this together. And here it is. It's updated its memory and say, okay, hey, I got your back. Magic. Ah, the magic of AI. Absolutely wonderful. I'll just tell it for giggles. This is good. Please craft the instructions. Obviously, in any scenario, you're going to want to review that. For the interest of time, we're going to allow it to do its thing. And here you can see it's actually going and it's building instructions for an email address checker agent. Here's the custom instructions. Here's syntax. Here's patterns. Here's examples of bad email addresses, username anomalies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, it also suggested that we could do some level of, excuse me, this is good. This is really good. Oh, it's going into integration recommendations. I didn't ask it to do that, but that's awesome. Okay.
Well, you're so nice to it. It's being extra generous in its reply.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. So again, just like anytime you use AI, go through what it responds or what it gives you. And what we've got here, right here, give or take, right here, I just did this, so right here, and even actionable responses, these are all instructions for your GPT. So it just so happens that, go to my GPTs, mine. It just so happens that I created one ahead of time. So if we go and we look at the definition of our GPT, you'll see here, that very similarly to what was just produced, it talks about the role. It uses all of its rules. It's got its rules and guidelines for validation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And for lack of a better way of putting it, if you've never created a custom GPT, all you have to do is go here to Explore GPTs, hit this button that says create, and now you name it, you give it a description, and those instructions that ChatGPT just created for you go right here. You can create conversation starters. You can talk about other capabilities that you want. By the way, if you've got any questions on what to do when you get to this point, all you have to do is ask the tool. AI will teach you how to create AI tools. It's wonderful. All you have to do is ask the question. So no kidding, that fast, you can have your own custom AI agent. Now, in the event that you need that agent integrated into software or into a different workflow, that takes us down a slightly different rabbit hole. But you can see, I mean, I'm not kidding, guys. Long time, merit badge holding software developer here. The rules that we just created and the way that we were able to input those rules and the fact that we've got it embedded in web-based software right now, although it's not perfect, in a previous life would have taken days, if not weeks. And well, my timer says 12 minutes. Congratulations, everybody. That's literally, it doesn't have to be any more complicated than that to get started. Now you may find, oh, wait a minute, I've got more examples, or I want to upload a list of bad email addresses to use as examples. All of those things are completely valid. This is how you get started, and then you extend and refactor and reinvent as needed for improvement over and over and over again. And then when you start to get comfortable with that, then you can use AI to improve the tools that are already built in AI. And that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing all day, every day. You can too. If you can follow what I just said, you can create an AI agent in 12 minutes, the same way I did.
Awesome. Thanks. Before we leave the topic,
Yeah.
how about a quick AI joke or AI dad joke, maybe?
And I'm sorry, what?
An AI joke.
An AI joke.
All
Let's
right,
get.
so I'm going to give you one. You don't have to come up. Okay.
Please, yes.
I mean, we could probably have AI come up with it, obviously. So the current version of ChatGPT is Strawberry 4.0, right?
Yep.
4.0, right?
Sure.
So the next one they're going to call Hawaii, right? Hawaii
Maybe.
5-0.
He's 5-0. Watch out. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh man.
Okay,
The-
brief interlude of AI dad joke, so now we can move on.
Here, I'm gonna ask AI right now. Give me your best joke about AI. Just give me your best joke about AI. Oh yeah, this is good. Ready?
Okay.
Why did the AI go broke?
Okay, that's a good one. I don't know why.
Because it lost all its cash.
Ah, ha!
CACHE. So
You're right.
if you heard
That's a
that joke and you
computer.
got
Yeah,
it,
it's
then
more of
you
a
know
computer
what
joke.
cash is, and that's a yeah, yeah, that's pretty terrible, but I love it. Okay. Yeah, right there on the fly. The power of AI to amuse us today. I love it. I love it. Okay. Ready to move on?
Ready to move on. So, what's in the
Okay.
news today other than possible Hawaii 5-0?
I love it. Um, I read an article. I'm sure you guys have seen it too. We talked about it. We talked about Sam Altman's 5 stages of AI to get to AGI. And we're at stage 3 right now. Stage 1 was chatbots. Stage 2 was thinkers. He used a different name, but that's really AI being able to think and process thought, if you will. Number 3 are AI agents, which is where we're at right now. Number 4 are, I'm sorry, level 2 was reasoners, not thinkers. Level 3 is AI agents. Level 4 is innovators. Level 5 is fully autonomous businesses. And then there we are. There's a lot of people who actually think that we've already achieved AGI. It's becoming more and more mainstream. I'm not going to go there. But AI agents have been in the news. Just personally, I feel like I'm being pummeled on a regular basis about AI agent this and AI agent that. So, in particular emphasis on how they're going to transform small and medium-sized businesses in 2025. I thought it was interesting enough to start reading the article. And in getting into the article, what I saw was very encouraging because it lines up very closely with my belief and understanding, which is the same tools that great big companies have in AI are now available to small and medium-sized businesses. So throughout the course of my career, I've dealt with all different size businesses. I dealt with big insurance companies, big financial services companies, but I've also dealt with brokers and traders and much smaller entities. And historically there were tools that were available to the big guys that were expensive, 30 grand a month, 50 grand a month, $2 million to implement that were not available to the small guys. They just didn't have that kind of budget. And I find it so encouraging because I personally believe that small and medium-sized businesses are a bajillion times more agile in the way that they can make change and make change very quickly to benefit themselves as opposed to larger businesses. And I know that might sound a little cliche, but it doesn't mean that it's not true. And what I'm seeing now, particularly with AI agents, is big businesses have workflows. Somebody's got to start a process and there's 7 steps and then they're done.
Right.
Small and medium-sized businesses do the exact same thing. And now that they've got access to the same powerful tools, I think that there's going to be a significant amount of disruption because of it. The other thing is that I think a lot of small and medium-sized businesses are more inclined to try AI, get, let's just call it mediocre results, but then iterate on how to make those results better. And
Right.
I think a lot of big companies have kind of sat on the sidelines a little bit. And if they don't get 300% ROI in 90 days, they call it a failure. They throw it away and start again. So I think number 1, being nimble, and number 2, having the exact same tools as the big guys, or close to the same tools as the big guys right
Oh,
now.
but to your point, by the way, I just saw a news item, I guess last week. a Fortune 100 financial services company. So Fortune 100 level, pretty big. We're talking pretty big here.
Yep.
They just now, last week, I think, held a forum for their executives to get together and hear a few presentations about AI and consider how they might use AI in the business.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah. But it's a big boat, right? It doesn't exactly turn on a dime. My
No,
gut
but
feeling,
if you don't even start thinking about it until like, I mean, what's it now? We're talking now a year and a half after ChatGPT was in wide release, much less limited release. We got all the other things that have been going on. People have been talking about it right and the left, and hey, maybe we should get together and talk about this. Like, okay. Which
yeah,
is the opportunity for small businesses to take a
yes,
piece of their pie, which is your
yes,
point, I think.
yes. I think new business models, new pricing structures, things things that a lot of larger, well-established businesses thought that they had kind of cornered the market on, I think are going to get those trees are going to get shook up a little bit. Fruit's going to fall from them, and the people who are agile enough to be able to go and get it, I think they're in good position. And AI opens those opportunities. I think a lot of people have been looking for an opportunity. All right, how do we break into this market? How do we get ahead? How do we establish our little niche? Well, the speed to market that you gain with AI is, from what I've seen and from what I've implemented, is tremendous. Um, Again, a good example is what we just showed, right? Which is in 12 minutes, we're able to create an AI agent that performs an operation that used to take me 3, 4 days to code. Um, sure, it doesn't have all the bells and whistles, and there's other ways that we could bash it with a stick. But right now, an hourly employee could be checking every single one of those addresses manually, or we can create that AI agent to take all of the data off of a 7,000 record spreadsheet and spit us back a spreadsheet with the same email address and whether or not it was suspect or not. My guess is it would take less than 3 minutes and probably cost $5. That's pretty good. That's
Pretty
an
good.
advantage to people who are going to use it. So yeah. Um, so that's that with that. Another good article that I read, or another good article that caught my attention, was something labeled "Avoiding the Generative AI ROI Doom Loop: 3 Strategic Approaches." And so first things first, I thought to myself, what's the Gen AI
Yeah, what's the
ROI
doom
Doom
loop,
Loop?
right? Exactly.
Right? Let's define this. And they defined it as not getting proper ROI out of their strategic projects. Now, you and I have discussed
Proper
this,
meaning whatever they think they should get, or was
whatever
there
the,
something in the article that said, here's the minimum you should be targeting, or
yes,
what did it say?
great question. They did not articulate what that ROI number should be. My expectation, based on the words that were used, were, we'll call it 100% ROI in 180 days. They talked about months and they talked about payback. And yeah, that seemed outrageously aggressive to me
100% in 3 months?
in six, yeah, 180 days, 6 months.
Well, 6 months, right? Yeah. So I need AI calculate that for me. So, well, well, let me say this. That's not impossible. I mean, you and I have done some things similar to that with clients before. It's just that it's more of a unicorn nature. It's not, you're not always going to
Right,
find the environment that you can guarantee that or even get close to it that fast. But still, even if you only got 50% in 6 months or 50% in 3 months and then plateau, it'd still be better.
right. Well, you
I
and I
mean,
have
well,
also,
50, well, I guess we should explain here. When we're talking ROI, 50% means you're really getting 150%, right, on the money that you invested. You're getting your money back plus some dividend, if you will, right? So
right,
100%, what they're really intimating is, I would hope, what they meant is that you're basically doubling your money, right?
doubling your money back.
You're getting the same amount back at least what you put into it.
Right. Right. Well, okay. So you and I have had this conversation offline with the idea that there's an unrealistic expectation because people, I believe business executives, are looking for ROI on a proof of concept project.
But
A proof of
an experiment,
concept,
right,
a proof of concept project is an experiment.
right.
So to have expectations that you're going to get double your money back every time you go and experiment, those are just unrealistic expectations. That's going to fall down on its own.
Well, yes, and there's the good and or the positive and the negative of this. We don't say good or bad. The positive and negative. The positive is that, for all the problems that we've had with software or software intensive products and services over decades, for the most part, software has been overall a home run, right? I mean, it has returned incredible amounts of dividends on the investments. It's overall, not every single instance, but overall has been a benefit. Um, Now, the problem is what you're bringing up is the expectation is now that anytime somebody brings up software in general, or AI now in the past 2 years,
Right.
that it's an automatic, it's a
Right.
silver bullet, right?
Right.
No matter what I do with it, I'm going to get positive returns. And that's the part that's unrealistic because unless you, well, when we're talking experiments here, the whole point of experiment proof of concept is to prove the concept and then move it into production and get the returns on it, right? So, or something like that. I mean, there's all sorts of variations on that theme, but it's the concept of the first step is really even before you start considering the specific project or the technology, is what are your expectations? What are your expectations for the first attempt, second attempt, third attempt, and so on? I, all right, so I'm gonna go off on the side here for a moment. So this is attached to a bigger thing, which is the phrase of failure is not an option, which is used a lot in business, right? It kind of echoes the Apollo 13, right? There's the book of the same title. The, the point they're missing though is that failure was not an option in the ultimate end result. To get Apollo 13 back, even illustrated in the movie of the same name, there were lots of things they were trying along the way because they didn't know if they were going to work, right?
Right.
It wasn't that those had to all succeed. It was figure out by doing all those things the way that would guarantee success of the ultimate goal, which is getting the astronauts back. And so there's this mixed metaphor out there about applying failure is not an option to everything in business, which is incorrect. It should be the final goal, things maybe that are in production or have to be fail safe, whatever, but everything should not be that. Or guess what? By saying fail, I know it's a little bit of a soapbox for me, but by saying failure is not an option, you almost guarantee failure because people will become risk averse and not try anything to keep the business moving forward.
Simon Sinek talks about Navy observation, where when the pilots, when the concentration is don't hit the obstacle. Pilots don't hit
Well,
the
they're going to
obstacle.
focus on the
Don't hit the
obstacle.
obstacle. Don't hit
Right.
the obstacle. They hit the obstacle. Why? Because they're concentrating on the obstacle instead of flying the plane. Same exact thing, right? Focus, right? If your focus is on finding a solution, you're going to find a solution. If your focus is on avoidance of something, that's more than likely what you're going to find. There's a dynamite book that I'm just finishing by a guy named Oliver Berkman. It's called 4,000 Weeks. And if anybody out there has a to-do list that will never end and you feel guilty about it, read this book. I have a to-do list. I've had a to-do list for 30 years, 40 years, right? And no matter what I do or how hard I work or how much I accomplish on that list, there's just more to backfill it. There's more that gets filled up on the bottom of it, right? And the premise of the book just talks about how if we live to the average life expectancy, we're only going to live for about 4,000 weeks. So step one is to, number one, come to grips with the brevity of our lives. Step number two is to be okay with the idea that we're not going to accomplish everything on our to-do list. And step number three is even more profound, which is instead of looking at it from a perspective of I'm not going to get to do everything on my list, be really proud of the things that are important enough that you decide to pay attention to all day, every day. Be okay with that. Be okay with the idea that 99.9% of the stuff that you want to do is never going to happen, but you chose to concentrate on the things that you did for a reason. And that's usually internal, whatever your belief systems are, et
Right?
cetera.
What's important to you, right?
What's important to you, exactly. In the book, there was a very interesting observation that I think is kind of analogous to what we're talking about here. So in the book, it outlined how in the 1920s through the 1940s, there was a huge influx of electric appliances interjected into American life. So washing machines,
Right.
dishwashers, all of these newfound appliances, which were all designed to save time. But the problem is that housewives or whomever was that were using these appliances didn't magically find 2 or 3 extra hours in their day every day where they could sit on the couch and eat bonbons. The level of what was acceptable for cleanliness in their house just rose to fill the time savings that they had from the appliances doing the work. So similarly, in an analogous stretch here, I see the same thing with software and AI. There's an expectation that, okay, software got in and it made our company this much more efficient and we made this more money, or we saved this much money, or we saved this many hours. And there's this idea that AI is going to do it again. And I don't know that that's the case. And even if it did, you can almost be guaranteed that businesses are going to figure out a way to fill that void with whatever comes next,
Well,
whatever
that's
new business
that's the
needs.
80-20 discussion that we could continue going on sideways. But the point here is really, I guess, it's a both and rather than either or. The first is, well, there may be some of those huge possibilities. However, you may not be able to exploit them or to take advantage of them unless you do some trial runs, some proof of concept, some experiments. But those will be more likely to succeed if you don't put huge expectations on the early ones at the beginning. So we're telling you both and you, right? Yes, there may be huge things. You should experiment. You should try to find out if some of those things can be home runs for your business. But at the same token, don't expect a home run on the first at bat.
Sure. Right. Or a grand slam.
Or yeah, a grand slam, even better, right?
Right.
That's actually the AI hype, right? It's a grand slam.
It's like people expect a grand slam when there's nobody else on base. Guys, that's not how this works. Right.
Right. Yeah, right. Yeah, we haven't even put anybody on base yet. We got our first batter up.
All right. All right. So circling back to the ROI doom loop, they suggested 3 strategic approaches. We'll throw them out there just for flavor. Number one is align AI projects with business objectives. And that makes an awful lot of sense to me. There's nothing quite like letting your guys in the tech room run off and do their own thing. And then when they come back and say, hey, we've got something that works, they say, well, how's that going to work with the business? How's that going to help us? Oh, well, that's not what you asked for. All right. So we'll put that one to bed. Makes sense. Prioritize data quality and governance. This is something we've talked about a bunch. You'll hear more and more and more out of this out of me in the future. Your data, the quality of the data that you use in your businesses, in your software, and particularly with AI matters. Having high quality data and governance to keep that data high quality through methods, I don't know, such as an AI agent to test the validity of email addresses before they make it into your database. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox there.
Something
Number
like that.
three,
But also, again, don't wait until perfection on that.
Absolutely.
Establish something reasonable to get started and improve as you go if you need
Improve
to.
as
I
you
mean,
go.
if it's absolutely critical to the business, then maybe you need to figure out how to do an experiment without being critical to the business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, and then number three, it says foster cross-functional collaboration. So
Where
this
have we
kind
heard
of
this
goes,
before?
yeah, this goes hand in hand. This is nothing you haven't heard from us before. AI will supercharge your superpowers. If you don't know anything about AI, you don't have to. Find an AI expert, cross-pollinate with someone who's got superpowers, and you can supercharge it for yourself. So,
And
um,
also, don't just focus on one area because you can sub-optimize and end up being a detriment to the overall business, even if you really supercharged one part of the business, right? So, I mean,
absolutely, absolutely,
that's just it's easier said than done, obviously, because that still continues year after year to be issues within organizations. But nevertheless, anything that's going to affect the business overall, well, you need to give some consideration to it, like cross-functional collaboration.
absolutely. Looking at aspects of like I think this is what you were alluding to. Looking at aspects of if we gain an outrageous amount of operational efficiency in sales, that's wonderful. But what if ops can't keep up?
Right.
Right.
It's a classic problem, right?
Yeah, we can't. Great, we sold a bajillion of them. We can't deliver. Ah, right. Then a whole new set of problems. Absolutely, absolutely. I thought that was worth sharing. So
Yep, I'm glad you did. Okay, we ready to wrap for this week? Anything else?
ready to go. Yep, yep.
All right. Well, thanks everyone. Another jam pack. We try to jam on as much in as we can, right? And within reason, for this week. And we'll be back next week with another, well, I won't say deep dive, but another focus item and some news. See you then.
Excellent. Thanks, Mike. Yep.